back, everyone. Our sponsor for this segment is AJ Fernandez. They produce the San Latino line of cigars, which is one of the most talked about cigars in recent years, and now they offer a groundbreaking line extension called the San Latino Bull. The San Latino Bull features an extensively aged and hardy core of Nicaraguan long fillers nestled beneath an attractive Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper. Housed in a cedar sleeve which depicts the outline of a bull, only solidifies this cigar as full flavored. Removing the sleeve reveals a box-pressed cigar with a beautiful, oily, and smooth chocolate brown wrapper. The San Latino Bull burns nice and neat as it issues columns of smoke while it hits you with a wall of spice, followed by leather and cedar. This densely packed cigar intensifies deep, rich flavors and becomes a flavor bomb halfway through. It only gets better with each passing draw. Strong yet smooth, perfectly balanced, AJ Fernandez, who many have called the tobacco prodigy, has somehow pushed the already spectacular San Latino line of cigars forward with the Bull. AJ Fernandez challenges you to take on the Bull. Cigar Snob's number 8 cigar of the year for 2014. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. I want to kick things off in this segment and talk about the Nat Sherman Epoca, which also will go into a tasting seminar and event that I attended as well. So kind of bear with me as I cover all aspects of this particular cigar and experience. And many of you may have seen some pictures of myself smoking 3 cigars at once on Instagram and Facebook. And that wasn't me showing. I want to be clear now. This wasn't me showing off. That wasn't me being a goofball. This was part of the tasting seminar. So we'll talk about how that goes forward. Now, there is an interview posted with Mike Herkelotz, the VP of Nat Sherman. Mike has a rich kind of history with New York, where Nat Sherman got started in 1929 and 1930. Nat Sherman is an interesting story. You can listen to some of that in the interview and hear about it from Mike as well if you attend one of his seminars.
That was a great interview, by the way, Paul. You did a great job, and there was so much insight that it's a 10-minute interview. You hit all the bases.
Yeah.
You'll get insight into that Epoca and of course, the Joel Sherman that I didn't know about. There were a lot of things that Mike talked about, which if you like those cigars and you're a fan of Nat Sherman, be sure to check that out. It's up. It's up
on our Blip and YouTube channel. So, what was interesting is if you look into Nat Sherman, which I was researching for the interview, the owner, the Sherman, the dad, not Joel. What's the
Nat? It was actually Nat Sherman.
Is Nat Sherman's his name? Won the cigar company in a poker game, is the rumor, which was kind of interesting. And Mike talks about with the company that he got. And the original cigar in 1929 that Nat Sherman won in the poker game, the cigar was the Epoca. And it was what did he call it?
A clear Havana.
A clear Havana. And I was like, well, it's a Cuban Puro. And he's like, no, not really. The filler was Cuban, but the wrapper was sourced somewhere from the U.S.
Right.
They called that a clear Havana. So that was in 1929 when obviously there was no embargo. And then more recently, was it last year? They launched it at Epoca, right?
Yeah, it was last year, right before the trade show.
Yeah. 2014, they relaunched the Epoca. Not obviously as a Cuban cigar, but with an Ecuadorian wrapper, and the filler is Dominican and Nicaraguan, and it's somewhat of a mild cigar. I would call it a morning, midday cigar. Well, you can smoke it at night as well. It's a very versatile cigar. I will give it that. I do like the cigar. I would probably rate the cigar at this point. Depending on your palate, you're going to probably rate this somewhere between a 5 and a box split is where it kind of rates for me. I think it's a really good offering. I haven't smoked a lot of the different sizes first thing in the morning. I really want to try the Churchill first thing in the morning. I think that's going to really shine as a box split or box worthy cigar first thing in the morning with coffee. It's got a little bit of extra punch. It's got a little bit of Dominican, I don't know what percentage, but it has Dominican Ligero in it as well, which is well aged and not overpowering. So we start the event out And this was done in conjunction with Mr. J. Savannah Smoke Shop at Malonzi's right here in West Warwick, Rhode Island. So I attended the event on Monday, and I started with the Robusto, which was very good, and then after you smoke the Robusto, Mike starts with the tasting seminar. In the tasting seminar, you smoke the 3 different filler components. So it's a Dominican. I want to say it's a Seco priming. You start with the Dominican Lajero priming. You start with another Dominican. It's either a Viso or a Seco. I think it's a Seco priming of Dominican, and then a Nicaraguan, which I forget which priming that is. He goes through it in the blending seminar, and he tells you of each of those 3 tobaccos that make up the filler, the Dominican Lajero, another Dominican, which was from either Seco or Viso, and Nicaraguan, which was Seco or Viso. I forget which. So lower primings on the second Dominican and the Nicaraguan. So you smoke each 3 of those Peritos in his tasting seminar. You start each one by doing a dry draw. So you start with the Dominican Lajero is first. And it's not over, even though it has Lajero in it, it's Lajero priming. It's a much thicker wrapper. It's not strong. It's well aged, and it's very nice. It's actually very smooth. So you do a dry draw and you let it up and you start smoking a little bit of that. Then you put that one down and you smoke the second Perito, which is another Dominican filler. And you smoke that and you compare the differences. And Mike was more focused on where the mouthfeel was and kind of where it hits on your palate. Less so about the flavor. I mean, it was, he talked about the flavors. But he's like, some people get cinnamon, some people get cocoa. He's like, whatever flavors you get, that's great. He was more kind of focused on the mouthfeel and where it hits on your palate. Does it hit on the back of your palate? Does it hit on the front of your palate? Does it hit on your sides, the middle? And went into great detail about that. And then you smoke the third one as well, and you kind of do the same thing. But then you kind of mix it up a little bit. And he says, take the Dominican Lajero and take the Nicaraguan and smoke those 2 together and see what you get. And it was
literally in your mouth together.
Literally 2 cigars in your mouth together. And you're like, wow, that's pretty bad. Like, those flavors don't go together. And then you smoke, like you do 1 and 3, and then you do 1 and 2, and you smoke those 2 cigars together, and you're like, wow, that really doesn't go well together. And then one of the combinations worked well together. I think it was number 2 and number 3. I think it was like it was Dominican Lajero and the Nicaraguan went well. One of the 2 combinations went well together. And you're like, oh, that's pretty good. Then he says at the end, smoke all 3 together. And you're like, and I was actually enjoying smoking all 3 together. So you see the picture of me doing that. Like, I had all 3, you can see a picture of it. I had all 3 in my hand at the same time, and I was smoking all 3 Peritos together. And I was like, wow, these 3 flavors really meld very well together. And I was enjoying it as kind of one cigar. And there was no binder, there's no filler. These are just pure filler tobaccos that you're smoking in 3 individual cigars and experiencing the flavors all together. I like it. I was like, this is really good. Like, I could sit here and smoke all 3 of these like I was smoking them one cigar, which is awesome because they're just filler tobaccos. And then once you're done with that, you smoke a Churchill size of the full blend, and you kind of get a more appreciation of what that blend can do. And then the event was great. It was $25 for the event. You got 3 cigars from Nat Sherman, plus the 3 that you got as Peritos. So you get an Apoca Robusto, you get an Apoca Churchill, and you get a Nat Sherman 1930 Corona, which I smoked, which was awesome. I didn't put that in my Stogies a week, but I smoked that last night, Will, and it was awesome. I was actually smoking that during our meeting last night. It was awesome. Awesome cigar. Love the flavors on that one.
I haven't smoked the Corona or the Perfecto. Those are the 2 I got to smoke.
Really good. Really good.
Yeah.
So the event, you get 3 cigars. You get the tasting. There was 1 whiskey tasting. I forget what the whiskey was. It was a blended Scotch whiskey from a liquor distributor that they had paired with. So you got a sampling of that. You got food, and your ticket was good for 25% off all Nat Sherman cigars minus the Joel Sherman. For that event, and they had a raffle with your ticket. So for $25, it's a huge amount of value. My only kind of critique of the cigar, and I don't know that you'll ever get around this if you're doing this particular tasting indoors is it was really smoky. And that's because there's 40 or 50 people inside of a building that are smoking 3 cigars at once. So all 40 or 50 people it's like 150 cigars being lit all at once. So, I mean, it's going to be smoky in there. There's nothing, I mean, even if you had the best ventilation system in the world, it's hard to control that. And once we were done with the tasting seminar, they kind of opened the door and vented it out, it was much better. So I certainly would never fault them for that because that's a unique situation. And don't judge that event like that because that was a unique situation. Difficult to control when you're, I mean, again, you're smoking 3 cigars at once, so lots of smoke. But other than that, I mean, just a perfect event. I mean, that to me is like an awesome debonair kind of event. It was really good. I liked it. I had a lot of fun. It was good times. Big Pete was there. He was in the chat room earlier. I sat with Big Pete. We had great times. His son's just getting into smoking cigars, and I was like, what a better way to learn about cigars than to go to some kind of tasting seminar. Not many manufacturers are doing these tasting seminars. We had Manuel Inoa in from La Aurora that did a tasting seminar. Mike from Nat Sherman does a tasting seminar. Jose Blanco does tasting seminars. Outside of that, there are not many other tasting seminars that come here to the U.S. So if you see one, definitely jump on that. I learn between the 2 tasting seminars I've been to in the past couple of months, I've learned a tremendous amount about tobacco, a tremendous amount about expanding your palate. My palate has expanded tremendously just from those 2 seminars. So I greatly, greatly recommend those to our listeners.
Yeah, I mean they've had a great year, Nat Sherman. It's been a good run they've had. In the interview too, Michael, very humble. You could tell he's really fit in with that family too. I mean, you could in that interview you'll hear how what I thought in the interview, just kind of not to digress, but the part that really blew me away was how Joel Sherman didn't know they were doing this cigar for him, and he probably would have never okayed the project had they known.
Oh, that's funny.
That, which I thought was really cool, and we all love that cigar, so it's.
It was interesting. I threw kind of an oddball question. Speaking of things like that, Will, like you probably wouldn't have prompted me to ask Mike about Nat Sherman's cigarette and cigarillo lines.
I was glad you did, actually.
And I did. In the end, you have to watch the interview. The answer is very, very good. You'll get a newfound appreciation for all of the Nat Sherman products, including their cigarette products, which, as cigar smokers, we're like, well, it's a cigarette. It's different. For Nat Sherman, it's like the cigar of cigarettes, right?
Yeah, they do not, much like, we don't the cigars we smoke on Stogie Geeks, we don't put in the same category as convenience store machine maids. Nat Sherman takes a lot of pride into their cigarettes. Absolutely. And they're a very different product, yeah.
So it was a great event. I was really glad I was able to attend that event, and I have a great appreciation for the Apoca cigar. So that it's all good stuff.
Yeah, if Michael's coming to your town, check, get your retailer, sign that up for sure.
Absolutely.
He hasn't done. I don't think he's done a lot of those events either. So hats off to Mr. J's for putting that together.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Very cool. Will, back to you. Do you have more cigars to talk about?
I am done.
So I smoked an Ashton ESG 22-year Salute. Where did this fall on the cigar aficionado list?
It was in the top 10.
All right, hold on. I got to go back.
It was my prediction for number 1, by the way. I thought that was going to be...
Was this released in 2014?
No. No, I think they did it's a couple years old.
It is a couple of years old, right?
Yeah. But it scored very high in their tasting during the year, which is why I kind of was...
It was number 8. An Ashton Estate Sun-Grown 22-year Salute. It's a Dominican Puro. It's 6x52 Torpedo. Again, kind of speaking to their size. This cigar starts out, and it was not enjoyable when it first started out. It was kind of harsh. The spice and flavors weren't very well balanced in probably the first 5 to 10 puffs. And I was like, oh, man, what am I doing? This is a weird experience. Like, I'm not really enjoying this. But after the first 5 or 10 puffs, this cigar settles out. Wonderful flavors come through. It balances out. It settles down. It has these wonderful flavors of sweetness, a little bit of kind of citrus component, a very nice sweetness component, balanced with a little bit of spice, and really is just a home run after those first 5 to 10 puffs, in my opinion. And I could really see where they were going with this. I think that Age has done this well. This is a pretty high price tag cigar. They listed as around a $20 price tag. Um, I liked this cigar a lot. I called this a box split. Even at that price tag, I would still call it a
I
box
agree.
split. I
I
think
agree.
Ashton did a fantastic job with this cigar. I think once it gets going, it's wonderful. After that first part, it finishes fantastic. So I would pick some up.
I'm in agreement with you on that, Paul, completely. I think those 22. I think it was they've aged well. I think it's a great. I agree the way it starts off. You just have to get a little patient with it. But I'm in agreement with you. I know the ESG is another one of those polarizing cigars, but I did like that one a lot.
The other one I smoked, and there were a lot of people that were very disappointed about this size choice from Arturo Fuente. And in the past, the unnamed reserve has garnered a lot of attention. It's unnamed because we don't know what the tobaccos are. They don't tell you what the tobaccos are. This is the third or fourth incarnation of unnamed.
I think it's the third.
I think it's the third, right,
Yeah.
incarnation of Arturo Fuente's unnamed reserve. This is a 2014, and this is a 6x60 this year. And a lot of people were very upset by this. I was not deterred by it, as we smoke a lot of different cigars on the show, obviously. And I try not to poo-poo the 60 ring gauge cigars. I smoked a lot of them that are awesome. So I picked up, I probably picked up 5 of these in total across a couple of different, retailers, as they're very limited cigars. It's a very unique looking cigar. That kind of brown hue wrapper they put on this will is really, really beautiful. Like the coloring on the wrapper
It does.
is spectacular, and then they offset this kind of lighter shade of brown wrapper with a deep red, nice red footband and the classic Fuente band on it with the gold and the red. Very beautiful cigar all around packaging and wrapper. The first 2/3 of this cigar were awesome. It had this citrus component. It was very well balanced. It was somewhat mild for a 60 ring gauge, right? That has a lot of those filler tobaccos. It was all about flavor. And the first 2/3 were great. When I got down to the final third, it became somewhat unbalanced and harsh, and that citrus flavor really kind of melded into something that was very sharp, and almost bitter in the final third. And I was disappointed with it in the final third, bringing my rating to the cigar to a 5, which is a shame because they did such a great job with this blend, but it just didn't hold up in the final third for me. Now, sometimes age will overcome that. And it's interesting. Will and I were talking about this earlier in the week. Sometimes these 60 ring gauge cigars will do that in the final third. And I've got a few 60 ring gauges that have done that. They're awesome in the first 2/3, and in the final third, they kind of
Run, I guess. Yeah.
they run out. They run out of gas. And I don't know if that's because there's some buildup in that final third because it's a 60 ring, or if it has something to do with the size. But that's my assessment of this cigar. I think, Will, you're pretty much on par with that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind. I guess I give you credit though. You didn't as far as you smoked it. So, a lot of people will. You went in there objectively. It's a 60. You don't like 60s, but you went in with an open mind. So I kind of
Absolutely.
get. Yeah.
I was excited to smoke this cigar. I'm like, I don't care if it's a 60 because the unnamed reserves that I smoked, the last year's was, I forget which one was better. One was better than the other.
I liked the first one better. The
Yeah.
first one I liked
It was
better,
the
but
first one was
I
better than
had
the
more
other.
age when I smoked that first one on it.
Right. They're unique. The unnamed reserves are very unique, in my opinion.
Yeah, they are. And Fuente, they're not known to do a lot of 60s either.
No.
So, no.
Yeah, so this was it. I mean, some of the 60s are like, the BBMF or Salomon size cigars. They get to a 60, but then taper,
Right.
which was partly what played into my confidence was, I've smoked the Opus X BBMFs in Natural Maduro, and they're really good. So I was like, they know how to do a 6. They know how to pack a lot of filler, but still maintain that flavor. And it does that in the first 2/3. And I'm curious to see what this cigar does with age. Cool. What else we got for the show, Will?
No, I mean, I think that was it as far as what we had to cover. I got to just say, great job with that cigar aficionado smoke thing. Hats off to mainstream media. Sometimes mainstream media gets a knock here, and I think I was really happy with the cigar aficionado choices this year, and I think there was something for everybody. So hats off, great job with that, Paul.
Yeah, and I've still got more to talk about on the show.
Yeah, because you bought. I know you bought more than that. Yeah.
It was interesting. I went to both local retailers to try and find some of these cigars, and they're hard to find. Once a cigar lands on that top 25 list, it becomes very hard to find. And I was on one particular online retailer that said in stock they had 3. By the time I got to checkout, they had 2. I placed my order. About an hour after I placed my order, I got a phone call. And I answered the phone because it came from a state where I know this retailer was, the online retailer. And I was like, I guarantee you that they're either out of it or I'm down to 1. My guess was correct. They called me an hour and said, well, you ordered 2, but we only have 1 to send you. We adjusted your order. We discounted you for the 1, and your order is going to ship today. So they were really good. I mean, I give props to them for doing that. Their inventory control was very accurate, and I know that this was a very hot cigar from being on the list. It was actually the Abe Flores. It was their number 10.
I like that cigar.
Abe
I've had it.
Flores, 1975 Siri Privada Capa Habano SP52. I have one of those coming because someone else got the second and third one that they had available. So
Yeah, there's a Maduro too, and I actually like the Maduro a little better.
interesting.
But that's one of the better PDR cigars I've had.
Yeah, so there's more coming that were on the list that I will smoke and report back. So one of the ones that can be tough to find is number 4. That's the Hoya de Monterrey Epicure Especial, which is a Cuban cigar. This is a Toro at 5.5 by 50, so it's a Robusto sized cigar. I don't know that I've smoked an Epicure Especial in a Robusto.
I haven't, but everyone who smoked that cigar this year, who I know, has raved about that cigar.
Interesting.
So it was not it was not a surprise. And then Rocky was at 5, which the people could say what they want about the Royale. I'm not saying it should have been a number 5. Very good release by Rocky Patel.
It was a solid cigar. I think I might have rated it a 5-er, but I don't think I think I smoked the Robusto. I didn't smoke the one that was on their list, which I may.
The Toro.
I think I may have the Toro coming. If not, I'm going to find it. It's a 6.5 by 54. I'm gonna try and smoke that one too.
I mean, even Stogie
the
Santa
Royale was very
surprised by that.
highly. The Royale was very highly rated actually in cigar media.
It was, and there were a lot of publications that had that. I saw another one have it at 3. So one of the other magazines, and I can't remember which one. So
Yeah.
it was, like I said, it was and I think I've had quite a few of those Royales, and they've stayed. People can say what they want about consistency. That cigar stayed consistent. I have not seen that cigar tail off at all. So we'll see what happens now that it's going to have a big rating behind it. But time will tell. I said all the signs were it was a good cigar.
Right. With the Padron Family Reserve 50th Maduro is on there at number 7 as well. I have another one of those to smoke. We've reviewed that cigar on the show before. I'll review it again as well. That cigar is another one that just keeps getting better with age. And the other one in the top 10 we haven't talked about is the Monte by Monte Cristo Jacopo number 2.
I think that cigar is a great cigar.
It's a Torpedo at 6 1/8 by 54. Again, very similar size to a lot of the other ones in the top 25. So kind of interesting. I don't know if I have this. I may need to find this somewhere. I don't think I have this on order or can find that locally.
I could get you that. And I'll say this. I don't want to say it's a number 9 cigar. That's a very good cigar.
Yeah, you spoke highly. Yeah.
I smoked when I was going to Florida a couple weeks ago. I lit one of those up. This is before the rating came up, and I was like, "Really? This cigar's and that box press torpedo is smoking really good."
Oh, it's a box press torpedo. Okay.
Yeah, it's a box press torpedo. It's called the Jacapa number 2.
Yep.
Jacopo number 2. Yeah.
Jacopo number 2.
I'm not saying it's number 9, but that is not a dog rocket that's on that. That's a very good Monte Cristo that's on that list.
Interesting. Very cool. Do we want to do a contest?
Do we? I'll just say as far as
let's do a contest.
Go ahead.
I got the question.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to start doing a contest for live listeners. So if you're listening live, you're going to qualify for this contest. So make sure you email the show at stoigiegeeks.com with your answer. And again, we're going to do contests for live listeners. We're going to do contests for people who listen after we release
we still
it.
have a box of San Cristobal's out there.
Yeah,
I'm not getting enough responses for that, so the box is still out there.
So
the box of San Cristobal's, yeah.
So if you're like, well, I didn't listen live, I'm not qualifying for the contest. There's going to be contests for both. Whether you listen live, we broadcast every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. StoigieGeeks.com/live. You can watch us. So we're going to this year run contests for live listeners and viewers, and we're also going to run contests for people who listen after the fact as well. We're going to give away on every live show that we do for this year a Smoke Naked T-shirt. A Smoke Naked T-shirt. Okay, here's a Smoke Naked T-shirt and a cigar. And this time we're going to give a Hoya Red because we have a box of those that were provided us from Hoya de Nicaragua. How's that
Great
sound?
cigar, too. That's a great cigar.
Because Omar talked about that. But the question is going to go back to Omar's interview. What was Omar's favorite Cuban cigar that he smoked recently? What was it? Email the show at stoigiegeeks.com.
When does that contest expire?
Well, if we don't get a live listener, we'll open it up to the recording.
Okay.
So
Okay,
if we don't get a response tonight from our live listeners, then
we'll
the live one it'll go to our whoever. So first one to respond in the live listeners. What was Omar's favorite Cuban cigar? You win a Smoke Naked T-shirt and you win a Hoya Red. I think was it Robusto he sent us?
It's Robusto, which I thought was a very, very good size.
Very good cigar. You get a Hoya Red and a Smoke Naked T-shirt. If you can email us what was Omar's favorite Cuban cigar. If we don't get any responses from our live audience, it's first come first serve. If you're on the recording and you're listening and you wanna submit that, you can do that as well. It's interesting. You can listen live, right? And if you're still listening live, you can qualify for the contest. If we don't get anyone live, the videos for this show go up right after we record. So you can watch the video right after. You could watch the video on Friday and enter the contest and probably have a still pretty good chance of winning. And those that don't do that, if the audio comes out around Monday, you can listen to the audio and still submit as well. So while this is a contest available to live, it's also available to people who watch the video when it comes out and the people that listen to the audio when it comes out on Monday. So it's a first come first serve basis for this contest to win a Stoic Geeks T-shirt. And this week the cigar will be a Hoya de Nicaragua Red Robusto.
For folks who win those T-shirts, I may have a second double dip prize for some social media stuff if you're wearing that. So stay tuned for that as well. You want to win it. There may be some other things I'm going to incent with that. So,
absolutely.
I want to see people wearing it. I have to get my shirt actually, Paul, by the way.
Yeah, we need to send you some.
Yeah. Absolutely. So really, great job. So the San Cristobal contest is just so folks remember, it's from our 3-year anniversary show. You need to listen to the end of the show. There's a question. And I just want to get some more people in for that right now. So once we get some folks in for that, we will, we'll raffle that off. But it's a box of cigars of these San Cristobal Clásicos. So
nice. Yeah, I have those in the humidor here, right?
Yep, you do.
Yep. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you all next week on the Stoic Geek Show. Take care, everyone.
Take care.